Hello and welcome to the Filterlight channel. I'm Ivor Tymchak, I'm your host, and I've got with me Brayshay, who is the co-founder of Filterlight. And we're going to be having a little chat about all things conference-wise, presentations, equipment, etc. So one of my bugbears, being a compere, is that I introduce a guest. So I might say, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto the stage Brayshay. And then Royd would come on stage and he would immediately start his presentation by saying, hello, my name is Brayshay. And I'm like, no, I've already told the audience that. And he's just wasting time. And so one of the things I like about the Better Culture format is that really that you've only got 5 minutes. You better get on with your story. So Royd, if you want to just launch straight into your introduction without mentioning your name, let's demonstrate how we're going to change things on this channel.
Well, I don't know how we're going to change things on this channel, but I do recognise your issues with introducing speakers. I know when I'm nowhere near as polished a speaker as you are, Ivor, and I never seem to quite have enough time to prepare in the way I'd like to. And my introductions, I try my best to be as sort of complimentary and kind as possible to the speakers that we get, because some of them are absolutely fantastic. But I find myself sometimes becoming a little bit lazy, and when once I've introduced their topic, I resort to the old trick of saying, and I'm sure, Ivor, you'll be able to fill in the gaps in your introduction far better than me and pass the ball back to you. I think that, I'm principally talking about a technology event that we run. So I run a technology company Monday to Friday, and we have a technology event it's a community event, it's free, and the speakers we typically either come from the community or there are professional consultants who would be normally speaking at conferences and things. So it's a little bit different for us. We can get away with things and our audience that perhaps you couldn't at Better Culture, Ivor, where people have actually paid for tickets.
Yes, well, that was the business model that we introduced because Richard had to compile the files beforehand. So we had to say to the speakers, send in your slides by a certain date, which required a fair bit of time to get it all organised, get the venue sorted, blah, blah. So it's kind of, it's worth it. And funnily enough, we were always aware of that. So we were kind of conscious of the responsibility we had to put on the best show that we could for the audience, because they were paying to be there. Mm-hmm. So as a compere, I was extremely conscious of if there's any technical glitch, very rarely happened, but if it did happen, I was immediately onto the mic to engage the audience, to talk to them, mm-hmm. keep them occupied, whilst Richard sorted out the technical glitch. It's just little details like this so that the audience are aware we're being looked after. Because what a lot of organisations forget is that it's not about them. It's about the audience. It's always about the audience. And you've got to keep them engaged, entertained and informed.
Yeah.
One of the first things that we decided to do was to instruct the presenters to send their slides in beforehand. So it would be a seamless transition from one speaker to the next. And that's when people started to create problems for us, because we'd say the deadline is a few days before the event. Because of course we needed the time to sort out any problems if somebody sent in a bunch of slides that, weren't working, or they only sent 15 slides, because it's happened in the past. You try and explain to people in the email, 20 slides, don't even worry about the timing, we'll put the timings on. And they send in 15 slides. It's like, you've only sent 15 slides, we need 20. Oh, right, So you sort out problems like that. But of course people would know that the event is on such and such a day, so they think, well, what does it matter if it's the day before when I send them in? Which doesn't give us time then to sort out any problems or issues that might be there. And it also puts pressure on us, because we want to compile it into a nice, presentation, and you're putting pressure on the organisers because you're late with your bunch of slides. the similarities with a speaker who's on stage is given a 30-minute slot, say, and then 45 minutes into their speech, the organiser is thinking, how do I get this speaker off the stage? Because I've another half dozen speakers who now have their times reduced. That is the number one crime of a professional speaker. So you just have to bear in mind, how are you going to sort that out? Now, as it happens, Royd, with the Better Culture format, because it's 20 slides, 15 seconds each, turns over automatically, when the 20th slide finishes, a new slide comes up saying, thank you, brackets, get off. That's the implied suggestion. So the speaker realises, my time's run out, I really need to get off the stage now. Whereas where you've got an event, where you've got a professional speaker, say, who's getting into their topic and overruns their time, it's a lot more difficult for the compere to walk onto the stage and then say to the speaker, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but we've got other speakers as well. So if you're organising an event, you really need to work out, how am I going to impress upon the speakers? Your time slot is, that's the topmost thing you need to be thinking about. We will not tolerate overruns. And some organisations have a red light that flashes, or somebody appears in front of them waving a phone, but you have to decide that before the event to make sure that speakers don't overrun.
I could definitely relate to that. We try and have a strict time, stick strictly to the time schedule at Agile Yorkshire, just simply because it runs in the evening and people often catch trains back to where they have come from. And usually when we finish at 9 on the dot, there's a stampede out the door to dash to the train station for a good number of the delegates. So yeah, definitely. And I definitely relate to your comments about trying to control speakers and how they their time on the stage and how they get them off. I often think I kind of want one of those crooks that they used to have on Monty Python, and you can put them around people's necks. But yeah, we don't have a light or anything. I kind of tend to shift from foot to foot nervously in the corner of the room and try a little wave maybe. But yeah, we should improve, definitely.
But what we did discover as well, actually, was that some speakers wanted to get up on stage and have this huge preamble, which, threatened to be longer than their actual presentation. And the way that we got around that was that Richard had the clicker, the remote, that started the slides running. So if we thought, hang on, they're spending too long just sort of talking about, well, I'm good, he'd just say, are you ready? And he didn't really wait for an answer, and he'd start the slides. So he'd go, oh, right, better to launch into their presentation. So we had all eventualities covered, and that worked.
And what about slide formats then? Because I know modern projectors are a little bit different to older projectors. 4:3 and all the different aspect ratios. I cannot believe that your speakers consistently send you the right thing. Well,
in the early days, the default was the 4:3 aspect ratio, and that's how most venues that we used had a screen that accepted that, so it wasn't that much of a problem. It was only in the latter years that the widescreen issue started to come up, and we had to instruct people, send your slides in this aspect ratio.
And so some of these issues, do you ever do you ever go through rehearsals or anything? I know I've read the speaker instructions for the TED events, and they make a huge deal about inviting speakers in the afternoon, or I think the day before even, and they want them to have everything prepared. Obviously, TED, they've got, they can do that. We can't do that really at the events we run, because consultants are at work during the day, and that they often come dashing in straight from a job. What about Better Culture? I mean, is it somewhere in between?
It's funny you should mention TED, because I've seen skits on it now. People. There's some video of some guy taking the Mickey out of the TED format, and when that happens, you know that you've perhaps become too formulaic. When people start to make jokes out of it. So no, we never run a rehearsal. Actually, I looked at a TEDx event nearby, and the stipulations, I think it's like a month before the event, you have to do a rehearsal. So that's a huge chunk of your time. And if it's sort of in a different city somewhere, so you have to travel and then do the rehearsal. And I think TED themselves, actually, they train the presenters to sort of format their talk in a particular way. So it's like, you can see how, to be fair, they've obviously decided this formula works, so we'll stick to this template. But no, the Better Culture event is just kind of, you've got 20 slides, 15 seconds, just do your thing. So.
And are you still evolving it, or it's events? I think you've mentioned already. There's a danger of any event becoming stale. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts going forward. How are things going to change, or are you perfectly happy?
It's surprising how much the novelty value people look for in an event. And I know when we were running the Better event years ago, we'd often ask the audience, what is it that you like about the event? And they would regularly say, it's the unexpected. No idea what's going to turn up, because we might have 14 speakers at one event. And so you might get a presentation about somebody turning a house into a pinhole camera, and then the next presenter will be talking about crystals and the vibrations they get from it. It's like, yeah, you've no idea what's going to turn up. And of course, if somebody wasn't into the subject, they would just say, oh, well, it's only 5 minutes. I'll just wait for the next presenter to come along, and I'm sure there'll be something interesting there. So that novelty value was a huge part of the popularity of Better Culture. And it's a case of, how do you maintain that for the audience without breaking the template? That's the key.
So it's become a business event though now, hasn't it? As well as something that runs in the evening, people come along with their friends and drink beer and watch. Now you run it during the day with businesses.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how that's happened, where the idea came from, and how it's worked.
As in all these cases, the best ideas come from your audience. Because somebody approached us. I mean, I knew for years that it's a brilliant format for businesses, because I don't know if any of our viewers have been to conferences and business events where speaker after speaker has slides full of bullet points and text and blah, blah. And I've already mentioned, the company introduces them and then they repeat their name, and it's like, oh, for goodness sake, just get on with it. So I thought it really could do with a refreshing format for it. So I knew for years that it would work well for businesses. But it was only when somebody approached us, Leeds Bid as it happened, and said, can we have some of that energy? Can we use your name and format for a networking event? And I went, absolutely, brilliant. And other sponsors have come on. Nexus from Leeds University, they've used the format. They use the format now when we run events for them. So it's finding a new audience for it. And a lot of the business people, they're totally unfamiliar with it because they didn't come to the evening event. So yes, we are finding a new audience for it, and they're realising this is great. It's like,
and when it runs as a business event, then what about the? How does it work commercially? Do people still buy tickets, or does the funding come from?
No, it's a free event. They even get lunch. It's a free lunch. Can you believe it? So they get the Better Culture experience. It's just 4 speakers, and usually a lunch thrown in. And it's sponsored by the organisation, who just want sort of the Better Culture name attached to it. I'm still the compere, the loose cannon, if you will, to try and keep. I mean, people wanted the Better Culture name for its innovation, its edginess. And I see part of my job in keeping them on track, to try and keep them thinking, well, let's be edgy. Let's ask the questions that most business events don't ask. So it's a learning experience for me as well, actually, because I tend to sort of push harder than most organisations are prepared to go. And it's a compromise of, okay, let's play it this way. But it's a case of keeping each other on our toes, I think.
So, I mean, I'm guessing there are going to be people watching this who have their own events, or they're thinking of starting events, or they've got some kind of concept they think would work as an event. And you're a great example of somebody that's kind of had some ideas and made that work. But have you got more ideas? How do you think it's going to evolve in the future?
Yes, Royd, I have. And there's a festival every year in Leeds called Leeds International Festival. And Leeds has a reputation of being edgy, so I'm told. I wasn't aware of this, but apparently it has. So I've got an idea for a bunch of talks that fits into the Leeds International Festival. I'm not going to reveal the concept behind it because I've yet to speak to the organisers of Leeds International Festival, but I'm really confident that they're going to be excited about it and think, yeah, this fits in with the edgy aspect of Leeds. So perhaps at some future episode, I will reveal what it's going to be about and I'll promote it. But yes, I'm an ideas guy. If I was to get a job somewhere, because I've been self-employed for so long now, I've forgotten what a proper job is. It would be an ideas guy. That's what I do. Okay, that wraps up the first episode for the Filterlight channel. Please subscribe if you want to see others. And thanks for watching. And I'm going to say thank you to my guest, Roy Brayshay.
Thanks, Ivor. And thank you for coming along. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.